My name is Taha Kadado, and today I'm going to be presenting to you Introduction to Relational Databases. So let's get started. Okay. Um, what I'm going to be talking to you today about is what is a database, types of databases, and examples of database uses, and we'll list examples of some most popular commercial relational databases and also examples of most popular open source relational databases. And also we will go and have an example of what is a relational database mean, like some understanding of a relational database. And we will list the common objects and then conclude. So let's get started. What is a database? Database is an organized collection of data stored in a structured way. Databases are a way to manage information. It gives you the ability to store it, retrieve it, update it, manage it, secure it. It's a way to ease the information sharing. It allows people to concurrently access the data and concurrently act on the data. And it's a way to provide even security, meaning you can have on a database a certain level of security access. Some people can read, some people can write, some people can read, write, and you can provide tracking of who's doing what. And also databases are used to process and analyze information. So they are really part of our everyday activities. And there are many types of databases. There are relational databases. Those are the most common, and this will be the focus of our presentation today. And they are really based on tables, columns that are related to each other. Another type of databases are flat file databases, which is the very basic and most simple types of databases. So they are, as they are named, they're flat, have flat file structure. You can open a text pad or you can open a text file and put information in there, and that can pretty much be a flat file database. So again, this was the most basic and simple one. There are hierarchical databases, and this is also an old structure. It is used to store information like in a pyramid fashion. There are also network databases, not very common, but they are similar to the hierarchical. You can think of them as being stored in like folder bases, uh, connected, connected structure. And there is also object-oriented databases to store data and programs together. This object-oriented databases are not really very common as they are very expensive and complex to implement. There are also NoSQL databases. They are often referred to as key value-based stores. They are used in very high volume inserts and retrievals. So you can see them very much used into the big data stores and for real-time web applications. This NoSQL databases have been gaining traction, and maybe in the future we can be talking about it more and more. The focus of our presentation is going to be relational databases. We're going to just talk about a few examples of databases from our daily lives. Like if you are a student, your information and your grades at school are stored in a relational database. weather information. The 911 database names and addresses of the citizens in the cities are stored in databases. Medical information, diseases, drugs, patient information, all that is stored in databases. Banks, they keep all the records in databases. Um, your phone that you have, the contact list that you have, is also a database. So you can realize and appreciate that databases are part of our daily lives. Some examples of one of the most popular databases in the world. For example, you probably have heard of IBM. So IBM have few databases. Some of them are like DB2, Informix. Microsoft SQL Server is another database. Oracle is another popular database. Sybase is another one. I've listed those in alphabetical orders, so they are not listed in any preference. And there are some other commercial ones, but I just listed some of the most common ones. So again, those are commercial ones. If you use them, you have to pay money, and they are often very, very expensive. Expensive to buy and expensive to maintain a license. And they have like each one of them have certain licensing model. So some of the most open source relational databases are like something like like Firebird, MySQL, Postgres or Postgres SQL, and SQLite, and there are so many others, but those are the most common ones. And again, I've listed those in alphabetical order. And those databases you can just download and use. So they are usually are based on Apache licenses or OpenGL. So generally speaking, you really don't have to pay any licenses. You can buy support, but you can download and use without having to worry about any licensing. To understand databases or relational database, let's talk about an example here. So if you have here, as you see, there is in here like two tables, customer table and an order table. So here in the customer, we have information that we're storing for the customer, which is there's an ID, customer ID, F name for first name, L name for last name, address, city, state, and zip. Every one of those columns have to be defined. Like the customer ID is, as it looks, it's numeric or integer. First name, last name, address, city, state is characters. The zip code is numeric, or it can be also used as character. There's another table which is related to the customer table, and you see here a line that goes from the customer to the order, and this is why they call it relational databases. They're all related. So the order for the customer, we have an order number for the customer. So for example, this first two rows in this table belongs to customer number 1. And we can see here he has bought on the first row a book. The price is $12 and the date is so and so. And he also bought an iPhone. So you can see that those first two rows relate to the first customer. The third row here belongs to customer number 2, Mary. And the fourth order belongs to customer number 3, which is Adam. This order table has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. Again, numeric, character, dollars, or you can keep it as numeric, and a date. So you can think of a database as a collection of spreadsheets. The difference is Databases can store lots and lots and lots, millions and billions of information, and the columns that you put in there have to be defined and have to be consistent across all of that. Meaning, if you define this column, um, if you define a column as numeric, it will have to be numeric throughout the whole database or the whole table. Now, in a relational database, there are common objects. What you saw in the example that I just showed you, you just saw a couple of tables. And that's what most everybody really do in a database. But there are many other objects in a database. So again, you have here we saw tables, which is where the information reside. You can create indexes, which will allow you to speed up the retrieval of an information. For example, let me go back to this example here. You're most probably going to be doing a lookup on the customer by first name and last name. So you're going to create an index for the first name and an index on the last name. So that's what an index is. So it allows you to have a faster lookup on the table information. There are views which are created on the top of a table to simplify access. And all those we can get to them later on in more details in later presentations. Another objects within a database is stored functions and procedures. And what those are programs that reside in the database, and they allow you to manipulate the data within the database. There are also triggers, and triggers are very important. And what triggers are, those are really stored functions and procedures that are attached to a table, and they are triggered by certain behavior. For example, you can put a trigger on a table to where you say, if you update a record, go ahead and do an action. So for example, you can say, if I delete a customer, you could say, go and delete every order that the customer have. So that is type of a trigger behavior that you could implement. So now you have, I hope I have given you a taste of what is database and types of databases, and gave you some appreciation of why you want to use a database. So databases are really very essential in our daily lives. They are part of every business, organization, or country. Databases give organizations the power to manage, analyze, report, and secure information. And until later, you have a wonderful time, and we will be presenting more on the SQL series down the road. Thank you very much.